driving back
No.
same day. Like,
No, can't do
I'll just
that.
stay in your dorm till Sunday and then come back.
Exactly.
I got to live college life, but not go to college for a little bit. It was kind of cool. Because I would DJ there's a place called McMo's up there.
Okay.
And they needed a DJ. And that's when I was heavy into DJing. I was DJing bars and proms and semis. And
Yeah.
I was doing the DJing, but it's like, man, DJing's a lot of work.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of, like, keeping up with the records. That's like people now still from when I was younger are like,
Yeah.
dude, will you DJ my wedding? I'm like, I haven't DJ'd in 10 years. You want me to DJ? Like,
That's big scoring for you.
yeah, it does. Yeah. I like DJing, though. Like, I still have the decks and all that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll, like, pull it out and I'll spin for a few hours, like, at my house.
Yeah.
But it's, like, the whole, like, haggling for money. Like, every
Right.
bar, every club wants to be, well, how about this much? Well, how about that much? Then you got to fight for the money at the end of the night and keep up on the music and load and unload your shit.
Right.
And I'm just like, I don't want to do it anymore. But it's fun, though, you know?
We on?
Yeah, I've just been rolling. Just
Yeah.
Oh, good. That's
No.
great. Yeah.
Let me do it. So people have been watching. We'll do a little introduction.
Yeah.
My name is Josh Snider. You're watching Thoughtful Discussions, and I'm here with.
Mike Hitt.
Awesome. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
This is so this will be a good segue. We'll just
Yeah.
keep talking about this
Sure.
naturally because this is
Yeah.
where we're at.
Let's go.
So, like, you got into the printing from 12. You were able to see entrepreneurship through your parents and stuff like that, and that inspired you. So, I always say, like, music chose me. I didn't choose it, right?
Fair. Yep.
So, when I was 12, 13, you know, I was into, like, taking tape. It's really weird. Not to backtrack, but it's like I have lived through every phase and era of music,
Yeah.
which like has given me a unique perspective and experience, given that I consistently stayed with it, that like a lot of people now don't have, and I feel that that's why people come to me, right?
Right.
So it's like I come from like where there was just tape, you know,
Okay,
and I had
okay.
to use tape and loop parts on
Right.
tape to make a beat.
Mhm.
And then the CDs came, and then I'm like, and then I had vinyl decks. I DJ'd when I was 14, and I DJ'd. It's funny because I moved to the high school I was at, and
Yeah.
I was like brand new to the area, period. I had no one knew me over there.
Yeah.
And I DJ'd one night, and I never DJ'd before I DJ'd. It was for the 9th grade dance.
Okay.
Like, so it was like the school was paying me and everything. I'm 14, right? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'll DJ the dance next Friday because they were like, oh, our DJ canceled. Now, keep in mind, I didn't have any equipment either.
Right.
So the week before, I was just, it's all about the right place, the right time, right?
Yeah.
And so they were like,
This is all too familiar.
this is crazy. And
Yeah.
they were like, we need a DJ. And I'm like, I DJ. Right? And I'm
Yep.
like, what the fuck I got to lose, right? And they're like, really? You've done this before? I'm like, yeah, keep in mind, I can't believe a 40, 50-year-old teacher believes that a 14-year-old
Right.
regularly DJ'd for one. I
Sure.
must have said it with some confidence, and I was like, and that also sparked a new, whole other wave of like me just being very intuitive, being like, just hop on it and figure it out later, right?
Right.
And they were like, okay, well, come to the office Friday, we'll pay you. And it was like $300 or something. We'll pay you, and then next Friday you're in for the gig. So I went and picked up my stuff Friday. I had a little bit of money saved. I worked at Kennywood,
Yeah.
and I took that money and I bought the equipment that weekend.
There it is.
And that week, I went to my cousin's. Oh, my cousin came over,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Oh, this is how you beat match." And he was probably like our age then, right?
Okay,
And
okay.
he's like, "So this is how you beat match and how you do it." And he was always into like making beats and DJing and all that. And then
Okay.
that Friday, I like crushed it. And then it was like a domino effect of like DJ, and then I'd be like, that opened the door where I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna start. I did that, and then we started like rapping over the instrumentals of the vinyl that I had,
Yep.
and then rapping over the instrumental. Then like CD burners came out, which were like $1,000. I was one of the first people in the neighborhood, only person, in the neighborhood with it.
Yeah.
So people would come to me and be like, "Oh, burn me CDs." So I'd be like charging $5 a CD to
Right.
burn, and it would take a half hour to burn one, right?
Right.
So I'm like, okay, I make $10 an hour. It's more I'm making even at Kennywood.
Sure.
So I burn the CDs, and then I got in. Then I bought a SP202. Those are my first loopers. So then I'm like, oh, wow, I can make my own beats now. So
Right.
now I'm like making beats. And
Yeah.
this all happened from like 14 to 18. Like it was
Yeah.
like a short like explosion of
Right.
like, whoa, DJing, making beats. Then like I was in video production class and they're like, oh, we could go to this competition. You can make a music video. And I'm like, a music video? I'm like, okay, I'm
Let's
going to
see
make
how
a
that
music.
works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see how that works. And because it was all related, you know?
Right, right.
And then it all like came to a head at like, you know, I was 17 going on 18. It was like the middle of my senior year.
Mhm.
And then, you know, I have really bad history, like, you know, with parents and like home life. And then I wound up just being like homeless for about like a year and a half, right?
Gotcha.
And so like I'm sleeping in my car, sleeping on people's couches. I'm really, you know, but I'm always still just like had that dream in the back of my head
Yeah.
where I'm like, I need to get back to that.
Were you hustling or no?
I was hustling, but in the sense that would send you to jail as opposed to like
Okay.
making music, right?
Okay,
So
okay.
because I'm just trying to make a couple dollars, and then I'm also like working like crap job,
Right.
and I'm like trying to finish school, which is like high school, right?
Right.
And I'm like, okay, and then I finished that, and then I went to a semester of college thinking, you know, when you're 18, you're like,
Sure.
oh, the college is gonna like put me at a more stable place. In reality, it just fucks you up more, right?
Right.
So then I'm not doing I drop out of that. I'm like, I took like business management, and I was like, this isn't even what I want to do. This is so stupid.
Yeah.
And then I finally get an apartment with a friend of mine who like was on drugs at the time. So then that was like 9 months that felt like 9 years, like that whole time between partying and doing drugs and all this stuff.
Right.
And keep in mind, this is like only like 19 going on 20. Like I had lived such a long life in that
Right.
short span.
Right.
But when I had that house with him, I got back into, I was recording.
Got it.
So then I was like, okay, I'm going to start like having people over like, yo, give me $10. I'll record you. I always made sure to
Yeah.
make money.
Right.
That was one thing because I just knew from a young age that like so many people
Yeah.
like waste time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like even back at the DJing opportunity, like nobody thought to do that. And I was like, that was more of the intuition of just do it and then figure it out later. You
Right.
know, so then I'm doing it and I'm charging people to do that, and it's outrageous. Like, give me $20 come over for 4 hours. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
So, you know, but either way, it like paid for, you know, a piece of my rent or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I'm doing that, and then that crumbles because he's on drugs, and I find out he's not paying the bills and the rent, and then we get put out of there, and
Yeah.
then luckily, so then I'm like homeless again, and then I meet my girlfriend, who's like, I got cool with her. I went over there a couple times,
Yeah.
and her dad was like, he was like, if it's a bad situation, because he knew I was never on drugs. Like, I might have
Yeah.
smoked some weed and we got drunk. We were young,
Right.
but I was never like doing blow and shooting up and taking
Right.
pills. And
Yeah.
he was like, if that's a bad situation, you could just come stay with us until you get on your feet,
Yeah.
you know. And then like, you know, that is, so then I stay with them for like a year until then the universe kicked me in the ass again, because then he's like, when are you going to get a place? But I was saving money. I had the money, all that. And
Yeah.
I just got really comfortable in that setting. So
Right.
then I got my own little place, which was probably half the size of this room that we're in
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it was like back to, I got to get back to that.
Right.
And it was like, while I was working, I was like, I met another like mentor of mine was like, and this is probably at like 21, 22, right?
Okay.
He comes over and he brings Pro Tools over. And at this time, it's Pro Tools 4.2, right? And we're on
Yeah.
12 now, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, and he made a living producing people and recording out of his house.
Okay.
And he gave me a vital piece of information where he was like, it's funny because people now say to me, hey, can you show me how to use Pro Tools, as if like it's like a switch, right?
Right.
And it's not just, yes, you can know how to record and stuff, but it's not that, right? And so I remember he came over and he loaded in. It was like, at that time, like pirated stuff was huge. So
Yeah.
he had a pirated version. He gave me that, and he gave me Waves. And this is at a time where like maybe 1% of people in Pittsburgh understood what Pro Tools or Waves plugins were, right?
Right. Right.
And so I'm even like mind blown because only industry people were using this stuff, and he had it from like traveling the industry and doing stuff, but he got out of it. He lost a passion for it. And
Gotcha.
he was like, he loaded it up, and he was like, here's how you load a beat in. I loaded a beat in, and I spit a verse over it. And I was like, what do I do now? And he was like, now you make it sound good. And I was like, how you do that? He was like, that's what you got to figure out.
Yeah.
And he like, at that point, he only stayed at my house for 5 more. He's a very like to the point person. At that point, he only stayed for 5 more minutes. The only other thing he told me was, when he recorded, he always recorded to please other people. Like, they wanted him to make a beat like this. They wanted him to make it sound like this. And the one great piece of information I got from him, which helped me carve my own way out, is like, no, like, make them do it your way. Don't do it their way, because there's too many of their ways, and your way becomes a brand of doing it.
Correct.
Their way just becomes a way of you staying busy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, I'm going to I made mental note when he said that. I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, no, this is how you got to do it. And then like that taught me like not to make music like this person, but to make music like me.
Correct.
And to record music like me and work with clients like me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
let me throw this in here real quick.
Yeah.
So you'll be it's all right. You'll be the fourth person that I tell this to today, is that make yourself the difference.
Yes.
So like
today, fourth person today.
Fourth person today.
Yeah, you're the X factor. Like, people think it's like, you know,
like I do printing.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of other people doing printing.
Printers. Yeah.
Why am I the person that so many people are going to? Yeah. It's because of me.
Yeah,
it's because the people I
how
hire.
You do business, your unique formula, and no one could even really copy that. Now that's a story for a whole nother time, where like then you want to what do they say? What's the word for it? When you want to not upscale, but you want to
when you grow,
but there's like another word for it where it's like you're able to replicate what you do.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's like the weird place I'm at now. You know, fast forward, we're going to fast forward a whole 15 years to today, being at the studio.
Yeah.
Where like now I'm kind of like trying to figure out how to replicate that. And I've talked to a ton of people, whether they're successful business owners, real estate tycoon guys, music producers, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they all say, you'll never find you again.
Exactly.
And it's like what you do and what I do is like, especially with what I do. So you could definitely learn a little bit like Photoshop wise, but especially with audio, is like everyone hears different. Everyone has creative input different. And it's like trying to teach that nuance of people to be like, now you're like Mike Hitt. It's like impossible. Absolutely. And I'll never find that. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to figure out, is like, how do I replicate that process? But then I'm like, do I even want to replicate that process? Right. Do I want to go on and do something else? You know what I'm saying? But go ahead. I don't know if you wanted to ask me.
No, that's good. Do you think that? Do you think teaching is part of what you want to do?
I had a guy call me. Actually, people call me probably once a week, and it's the same questions. Like, hey, you think I could sit in on a session? Can you show me what to do? This and that. And it's like people always ask that, and I would love to teach just so they can learn that it's not that easy. You know what I mean? And I think that would be huge, because people are always like, they always want to sit in on a session. They always want to learn something, but it's like, I mean, I just told someone this. I seen him down there, a friend of mine. I was like, dude, I still have guys who record at other studios who they go there, they're loyal there, but people come to me and they're like, yeah, so-and-so said to come to you. And it's like, why tell them to come to me when that's the studio you're loyal to? You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's obviously something going on here.
Yeah. Do you think that, have you ever traveled to record? Like traveled to other studios to record?
Yeah, so so that was another thing was I always had, by the time I opened the studio, I had a lot of recording experience. Like I did a lot of cheaper free work, right? I had the one in the apartment with my friend, right? And then I rented someone's basement, and then I rented someone's attic, and then I was going to other studios like in the city where there was only like I said, 3 or 4, probably at that point 2 or 3. Yeah. At the time where I was going, I was learning. I was just like keeping I'm like a sponge with stuff like that, right? And then I even went to California for a little bit with my friend, and we stayed there because I wanted to secure an opportunity to do like licensing for TV. Mm-hmm. And dude, it's crazy. Like it's the you factor, right? Where like I'm in the studio, we're in the studio, dude. There's like 15 bloods in there. They're all rolling up weed. They're all like, you know, it's like gangster as hell in this place, right? Yeah. And I'm like, and I play a record. I had some of my records on a flash drive, and I play the records. The owner plays them, And a dude comes in the studio. He's like, "Who recorded that?" And I was like, "I recorded that back home in Pittsburgh."
Yeah.
And he was like, because they were about to start their session. So then those guys start recording, and I'm sitting with my boy, and it's especially with what I do, it's hard for me to be quiet about it.
Right.
And the guy's recording, and I'm like, this just ain't right.
Yeah.
And I was like, just let me, like, can I, like, do something? And he's like, cool. You could tell the guy was an owner, not a producer. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I hop on the boards, and I start doing it, and the dude's in the booth. It's just like this, how the booth is. Yeah. And he's like, that's it, bro. That's it right there. And he's like, dude, you want to come back tomorrow and just, like, make a couple $? You know, you can record. You can come whenever you want. Yeah. And that's just kind of like – and then I learned even just going other places even more of it's the you factor. Right. You know? Yeah. A lot of people record now. It's like this, like, yeah, bro, cool, go. Like, there's no, like, enthusiasm, and there's no, like, every record that I'm with, this is another thing. People always say to me, like, you ever work with, like, whack artists or people you don't like? Right. And to me, there's no such thing. I say this all the time. Yeah. They're a problem in themselves. Right. And I have to figure out the solution, like him doing the audio. It's like the guy's talking like this. You know what I mean? Right. So, like, he knows the solution is to get him to move like this, not like that. Right. And the same thing with the studio. Like, maybe they're too shy, or they're too loud, or they put too many syllables in their rhyming, or they, you know, there's just I've come across every equation that you could come across, from beat making to recording other people to even the psychology of them. Some people are just fucked up in the head, and they have to realize that you're not judging them. You just want to give them the best product possible. Right. So then once they realize that, they open up enough for me to give them the criticism they need, and then they're like, I'm booking again. I'll be in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Right. And that's why there's no whack artist. There's just a problem, and they're coming to me for a solution. Right. You know, and I've just dealt with too many people, and I have too many life experiences to not, like, to look at it as, man, this dude's whack. Right. Because another thing I learned, you know, and I was one of those people, you know, at any point, it could be 5, it could be 20 years from now, I could see those people out, and they could do one or two things. They could be like, man, fuck that guy. They could be like, Hit, dude, I remember I learned from you how to do, let me buy you a drink. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm in it for, that feeling of, like, that investment. I'm the same with money. I'm the same with people. I'm the same with everything. Is like, people want it right now. And I'm like, dude, it might not come for 5, 10, 20, 30. It might not come until I'm on my deathbed. Right. But at least I made the positive investment to get the positive return, you know? Right.
It's amazing, man.
Thanks.
No, we're very similar with the way that we do our work. Yeah. And the way we believe in people, and the way that we believe in our work. I think that for me, I believe trust, honesty, respect, those 3 things is just how you treat people, and then communication and expectations. Yes. So, but this goes for the reason we've been able to do well with printing and marketing and advertising is because we take those factors into account. When you have, let's say someone has a poster, or someone is trying to do some sort of advertisement, hey, is this communicating clearly? Does the person that picks this up, do they know what to expect when they show up? Or are they going to come to your party and have a different experience than what they thought that they were going to get when they see your business card or whatever that is? And we want to make sure that it communicates clearly. Yeah. The trust, honesty, respect. When people don't walk into a business without at least having some expectation that they already, you know, trust you a little bit. They
they came to you because they are
They heard from you, from someone else.
So what you got?
Right, you know exactly. What I mean? So anytime you have a chance to build that up, but like the way that you do it, where and I do too with customers, if you give them a little bit of like pushback, where you're like, I don't like this, and this is the reason why, and you can show them your experience, and
they love it,
and see like not like, I'm not going to be like, hey, I'm just going to be a jerk and tell you why you're doing everything wrong.
Like that.
Right. I want to give you a little bit of added value. To say, like, I'm not just going to do, like, I could do copy jobs all day. You send me the work, I hit print.
Easy.
Have a great day.
Yeah.
But like, if there's an opportunity for me to kind of like step inside of it a little bit and be like, hey, I think you can do better if you do this. Yeah. They're customer for life.
They are.
Because you cared about them.
Well, you're even in their conversations after that. They'll be talking to people, and they'll even be like, They won't even mean to do it. It'll just naturally come up where they're like, yeah, Josh was saying that it's got to be in CYNG, and then your name, and Josh who? Oh, Josh at Flower City Printmakers. Like,
exactly.
It's just, it helps to give that little bit more, like you said.
Exactly. Give the little extra. For audio, what's super interesting, so I've dabbled, a little bit of recording at home and stuff, and I got a buddy out in California, Dub Shakes. He has a studio, and I'd hang out at his studio for hours. We would just hang out, and he'd be doing his thing, and like the stuff he's working on, obviously is amazing. Like anytime anyone that's not into recording is able to go into a professional studio and
it's like an experience.
Absolutely, and so we would just be chilling out, and like I don't understand it. He's like, it's like a painting. There's so many layers. Yeah. And like you do that with audio, and so when you hear it, like I'd hear his stuff, and I'd be like, you can hear every freaking instrument. Yeah. Like you get it, and there's a few live bands. I don't know if you've ever seen like different places in space, like when they play, you can hear, like they are usually when you hear a live band, especially like this happened a lot in high school. Yeah. There's always that one guy that just wants to turn his up a little more, and then everyone else wants to turn up a little more, and then it just sounds just all loud. Blown out. Yeah. And everyone on the other side of the stage is not having a great experience. Where
like Starship Manus is like in the sense where they're in harmony with each other.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the same way. Yeah. So if you can achieve that in your recording, and you know what to expect, and whether it's a $1 million sound system that is set up the right way, or someone's crappy car stereo, then you
just got to know how speakers interact. That's another thing I tell people. Like once you
don't know that.
You can listen to anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you could mix on it. People are like, what speakers do I need? I'm like, you need speakers that you listen to all the time. Like I listen to music through my studio speakers. Right. Like I listen to Bob Marley. I listen to the Beatles. I listen to Dr. Dre. I listen to Celine Dion. I listen to, whatever through my speakers to get an idea of what that sounds like through there. And then when I mix other people's records, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm working on acoustic guitar. Johnny Cash sounded like this. If I make this tweak, it'll sound like this. And not only will it sound like this through here, but now it'll sound like this through everything. Right. Right. That's another thing people with it. As soon as people hit me with what's the exact thing I need to get it's like it's whatever. Like a chef isn't like this knife is the best cutting knife. They all use different knives.
Right. So I've been an entrepreneur for 11 years, and I have people that ask me. My own brother. It's all going to circle back. My own brother asked me. He's like, what do you think I could do? He's like, is there a product you think I can make that he's doing welding? And he's like, is there something you think I can make that will that I can cash in on? And I'm like, no, because if you make something special, someone else is gonna figure out how to do it and market it better, do it cheaper, and put you out of business. Yeah, because people are trying to put you out of business every day. Every day. The only way that you can make something different is if you are the difference.
You're the difference,
And if you make something and you're the only one that can make that thing because it's you that made it.
Stand by your product.
That is what's going to set you apart, and people are going to want to buy it. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, you're right. I got to make something that. So now he does like art and stuff. Like he does, he'll do welding projects for other people, but the stuff he does for himself, he just takes like nuts and bolts and puts them into like little toys, little
that's cool
things.
As hell.
And no one's gonna see it the way he does. You put a bucket of bolts on the table. He's gonna see a bulldozer out of that and put it together, and it makes really it look rad. Yeah. So he is the difference in that he's scenario. What is the name of your studio?
MCM Studios.
Yeah. What is it? What does it mean? What does it stand for? How did you come up with it?
So MCM, actually, I said MCM. Well, it means middle class millionaire, right?
Yep.
The first product I ever did, I don't know how familiar you are with it, but there was something called an I'm So Berg shirt, right? It said I'm So Berg on the front, and then on the back in 3 columns of 30 were all 90 neighborhoods that make up Pittsburgh. Cool. Now, this is in 2009. This is before this whole, let's everyone cash in on Pittsburgh. Kennywood, let's make a Pittsburgh-themed area in our park. Everyone's cashing in on a Pittsburgh name, right? Right. So this was at a time where I'm like, this was probably even before the 412 shirt was even big, right? Right. And I'm like, okay, I want to make a shirt that represents, everywhere you're from. And then I was also making music at the time, and I said in a song, I'm the middle class millionaire, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I said it, it was like a light bulb.
Yeah, it hit.
And then I was like, all right, I need like a logo for this. And at first the logo was like, I wanted the C, and I got shirts like airbrush like this. I wanted the C with a line on the top and a line on the bottom to represent the upper middle class, lower middle class, and then the middle class, right? Because the middle class is like the one class of people, like people. It's interesting because people see the word millionaire and they get attracted to that. And then they, some people make jokes, oh, you got millions, or some people like get it. But
right.
millionaire, you could be poor middle class, and that's like the working class
right.
people, like under $50,000.
Right.
You can be just middle class, like you make $100,000, or you could be like upper middle class, where you're actually like $500,000, a
right.
year. And that kind of like embraces that whole like like the walk of life I come from. I just come from all sorts of races and income levels, and my friend structure is the same way, like
right.
skaters and white people and black people and rich and broke and doctors and dads and moms,
right.
you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm friends with like everyone, so I was like, that's it. And then finally I settled on the logo where it is now. It's been like this since 2009. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to put that on the back of every shirt, because that's when the branding came into mind.
Right.
Where I'm like, people need to know where this shirt came from, especially if I plan on selling like a few thousand of these. They need to see that.
Correct.
And so like that was the first thing that I did. And then I got out of the shirt thing. Like it was cool. We were like sponsors for the regatta in 2011, and we did stuff. And then I just, I'm the type of person, like once I lose passion for it, I just kind of move on, right? I don't kind of try to milk it until it's dead.
Right.
And I moved on, and then I went to open the studio, and I remember I was telling my friend, I'm like, I need a name for the studio now.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is like my next business thing. I'm like maybe like the Vault, or like or the Hideaway. And then she was like, why don't you just call it MCM Studios?
Right.
And as soon, again, I was like,
of
why
course.
didn't I think of that?
Yeah,
It's like right there under my nose. And I'm
right.
like, okay, MCM Studios. And I was like, well, I need a slogan then that's going to represent that again. And the studio the slogan of Middle Class Millionaire was Love Life, Live Rich. And that's that whole like I said, like upper, lower, middle, like no matter where you're at, live a rich life with lots of different people and all that.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, the studio has to embrace that same thinking.
Yeah.
So the studio slogan was Middle Class Millionaire Studios, no job too big, no artist too small.
Cool.
And that like, it's great because that rolled right over into like my theme of what I was doing,
Right.
So yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So tell me about working with different people. Is there anything that you've worked with that you're like super stoked about, or anything coming up?
As selfish as this sounds,
yeah.
right?
Let's see it.
I am the most excited about what I'm working on.
Yeah.
Because,
tell me about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, Eulogy was kind of like the first like shot out of my gun, right?
Yeah.
And so through all these years that I was there, now keep in mind, I was a producer at heart, right?
Yeah. No, wait, hold on. Okay. So anyone listening, watching, you could hit Spotify,
YouTube,
iTunes,
whatever.
Right.
Eulogy, Mike Hitt.
Mike Hitt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And what's that song about?
So that song is about just like people.
I've listened to it, obviously.
Yeah, Eulogy is about people who passed away, and it's rather than like a direct, lots of people say, I love you, I miss you. Like, I wanted to make a song that was like in a spoken word manner, where if I spoke at their funeral, I could actually perform this song even at someone's funeral, as crazy as that sounds, and it had the same context as speaking a eulogy for someone who passed away.
Yeah.
And I wanted to like, I guess I had a lot of trauma in my life of like different people passing away, lots of different reasons.
Right.
And so I kind of wanted to like close that section of the book, and like, and even you've seen the video, like I just wanted to pay homage to all the people that had a positive impact on me.
Got it.
And that was the start of, so all these years where I'm there at the studio, I am always like, even when I try to get away from it, this is where I say 360 in our conversation.
Yeah.
That music chose me, I don't choose music, right?
Yeah,
and it's like, no matter how far I run from this shit, it finds me. No matter what corner I'm in, no matter what bed I'm under, music is like you. I'm not done, right? And so it's like it keeps me up at night in a sense to where it's not even about me. This is what's so crazy. Like, so Eulogy was like, it was me, but it was more like, look at this than look at me, right? Like the message of it. Right. And like that's how I make a lot of my music, from working with artists in the studio, where like it's always like, I'm the hottest rapper, look at me, this and that. And eventually, you know, you start to catch on that like that's part of the unappeal of why they're not making it. Right. Because they're just, it's very, even their message is very like, this was my struggle in my life, right? So like I want to make, again, a friend of mine was like, and I learned this years ago. She was like, if you really want to cross over, be the voice of everyone, don't be the voice of yourself, right? And like when she said that to me, that like fucked me up, because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start writing all my music and in that sense. You know what I mean? Like, you know, this girl over there is crying, so I'll make a song about whatever I think that girl's going through. You know what I mean? So then through all these years, when I was done with my sessions, I would make music at night, my own music. Now I self-produce, all the recording, all that. And have like, I just said to someone at the studio this, I have about like 70 complete songs, and then I have like a full album that's completely done. And I think my biggest fear was like, my biggest fear always was stepping into the spotlight and being like, I'm not really a selfish person. You know what I mean? So it's like being an artist in some way is being selfish. It's being selfish of self, and you want your art out there. And like, it's still hard for me to do, because like, I want everyone to embrace it like this. I don't want it to be like, look at me. You know what I mean? Like, I want people to like it to be like a hug for all of us, you know? And so like now all the music I'm working on is kind of like a group hug for people. Gotcha. And that's kind of what I'm most excited about. I'm hoping that, not hoping that, I am, especially with this blood moon coming up and the way the universe is. It hasn't been like this since 1934 to 1939, the energy we're about to have. And we had a glimpse of it again in 2011. We get into that some other time. Right. But now more than ever is a time where like you're going to start to notice this. Like right now, you're either going to embrace what it is that you were put here to do, or you're going to be stuck where you're at still. And I'm working on just embracing that. Like, I'm a producer and an artist. Like, it's kind of like probably a Dr. Dre scenario. Like, no matter how many artists Dr. Dre produced and put out, you know, with the exception of like Eminem and a few others, you know, people at one point just wanted more Dr. Dre. You know what I mean? But he's like, no, I'm going to stay behind the boards, and I'm going to produce Stat Quo and this and that. And even though they had success in their own right, people were still saying, where's Detox? You know what I mean? Like, we want that, you know? And I think that he has there's no necessity in that for him right now. You know what I mean? And like, so I'm trying to make that a necessity, that I continually release music and put it out, and it not just sit and die. You know, because I think letting your creations just sit there, which I did for a little bit, is like really bad for your karma. Because like you got told this, like you got given this energy and told something channeled through you that you had to create this as an artist, whether you're making a painting or like I'm making music or whatever. And then like you just hide it from the world. You know, it's kind of like when you keep money in your mattress and you don't put it in a investment fund. Eventually it just depreciates and loses all its value when you could have put it out there, and it could have been, you know, it could have been like gaining, what's the word for it? Interest. Compound interest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to be. That's what I'm most excited about. I love all my clients. I love what they do. But a lot of people come to me who are just new doing it and things like that. So it's like.
Have you noticed a difference to, since you have put that out, that more people are recognizing you as an artist and as.
It's weird.
Even though you've been recording and you've been an artist this whole time.
Yes. But I've been an artist in hiding. And what's really weird, I just talked to my first session today, where it's like, I'm like, it's funny, you know, I tell them, like, you see me as a producer and an engineer, right? Because, like, that's our basis of relationship. And then, like, I put Eulogy out, but I still have a fan base of people, like, I did a song when I put the shirt out called I'm So Berg, and that had like 70,000 views. That was before even YouTube was like a thing, right?
Right.
So then like I have this class of people who just like, hey, can you DJ my wedding? This other class of people who are like, dude, when are you going to put some music out? Like, I know you're recording this stuff and it sounds hot, but like, when's your shit coming out? And I'm like, and I always like push to the side, like, I'm working with some great artists, and I think I've been burned enough now lifting other people up that like it's given me enough of that flame inside to be like, you need to lift yourself up. And I don't think no one can tell you, no one can make you feel a way to do that until you've gone through your own trials to get like that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that is the scariest thing, is like, you're not going to be ready until you're ready. I don't care what it is. Giving up drugs or fucking going on that trip or skydiving or whatever. Like, no one can make you do that until you're ready to do it.
Absolutely.
And I'm ready. Now I'm ready, like, more than I already shot 2 other videos. I got a 3rd video I'm planning. Cool. My issue is I'm kind of like looking for like a manager in a sense, because like business and creative, it's like, not to keep going, but business and creatives, like, the business poisons my creative, right? But the creative,
you can do both.
Do both, yes.
But not in this project.
Not in this project. Like the studio is like business then creative. And the creative can't poison the business, because by the time I get to the session, the business is done. Like, we got the client, they're satisfied. All I got to do now is put the creative work in. But it's like, whenever I'm creative and then I go to business, it's like, fuck, now I have to do that too. And it like poisons it to the point where I'm like, I don't even want to do this. I exerted so much of myself on the creative end. I just want someone to be like, dude, I got it. I booked the show. The songs are on Spotify already. Just keep making music. You know what I mean? And that's why most major artists, they're not artist managers. They have a manager. They have a booking agent. They have a personal manager. You know what I mean?
Right. Amazing.
It's a rough life.
Live it up, man.
It's a hard life, man. It's a hard life when you want to do a lot, for real. It's easy when you just want to sit around all day.
Right. So you mentioned that you had some mentors.
Yes.
Anyone that you can shout out?
So I just think everything is a mentor, right? Like, I read books, whether it be Tony Robbins or Brian Tracy or Tim Ferriss, and then I have guys like Jeff, like I said, the guy who helped me out with the Pro Tools. Like, shout out Jeff forever, because he was like, he had the vision to be like, I'm gonna pass the torch. You know, here's all my crack stuff. You take it and figure this shit out. You know,
right.
And then he moved out of Pittsburgh, which was really cool farewell. Where it was like 2015, he moved out. And he had, as musicians, we hold on to that gear. Like, you know, the married guy who has the drums in the basement, like, he won't get rid of it.
Nah.
But when he moved away, he had like some hardware gear, like some effects, like rack effect stuff and things like that. And he was like, came to the studio. He's like, I'm leaving town in a couple of days. He's like, I figure this will probably do you better than it does me. And like, when he did that, I was like, this is it. Like, this is the torch right here. Like, this dude's literally saying, like, you're doing it, dude. And I just want you to keep doing it. And so shout out to him, and shout out to my boy Nick B. He's just a friend, but like, we all need a friend that like, there's really like no judgment. And he helped me with the studio like, he was there all the time in the first like year. He was even there with clients, because like, I didn't understand how business would run. So you don't know if clients are going to try to do something or how it works, and you're dealing with money, and at the time we're like drinking Henny and smoking, and it's like you're making all these first time business owner mistakes. You're mixing pleasure with the clients, and like, so Nick was like there for all that to kind of like smooth it over, Gotcha. So he's like a mentor and a friend in a sense. Like, he reignited my faith in people to where like I could just be myself. Like, when I'm around him, I just myself, and that feels good. Like, those people you just like, what up, bro? So him, and just and Janae, there's a girl, Janae, she's like my business mentor / accountant. And, whenever I was starting a studio, she was starting to come up on what she does. And she really just, she just believed. Like, it's crazy how many people, so I tell you again, the theme of this is it chose me, I didn't choose it. Like, so many people came in my path to just be like even when I didn't think I had it, to just say, you got it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right,
and
right,
because and it feels good because there's a lot of people you would think like, oh, you probably get a lot of love, but it's like people don't understand.
Nah.
Like, you don't get a lot of love.
Right.
And a lot of people either like they don't want to love you or they want the spot that you're in. And it's rare that people are just like, I admire where you're at and where you're going, and I want to uplift you. I just
Right.
want to applaud you while I'm around you,
Right.
because I might not be able to do it.
Yep.
You know, so like all those people that do that, man, like they don't understand, bro. Like me being on your podcast,
Yeah.
like, you know, it took me a while to like get to this point.
Yeah.
But then, you know, I'm like I said, I'm in this weird space now where like I didn't really like make it and I didn't not make it, but I'm in this weird area where it's like everyone wants a piece of me right now. And it's like it's just weird, and it's like scary because like only like 20% of those people have your best interest at heart, and the rest just want to like learn from you to do their own thing, or they want to get some info to take to someone, or it's like they want to come in and then like downplay what you're doing, and that stuff, you know, it's taxing. And luckily in my life, I come from the absolute bottom, and that helps me at this point now where it's like I've seen everything, dude. Like I've seen it all. I've been burned every way you could be burned. I've met X amount of people. I've put myself, my money, my friendships, my relationships on the line for my dream. And so now it's just about continually going and growing and taking the chances and listening as close as I can, even when it doesn't make sense, to like what I'm supposed to do next. Like it's like when my intuition says, dude, you need to go to Bitter End's Garden Luncheonette and get a salad after this. Like if that said that, maybe I need to be there. Maybe not for the salad. Maybe there's some dude in there getting a salad, and he's like, oh, I need a studio. And then he comes to me and he's like, oh yeah, I manage 50 Cent. Or some crazy shit. Like you just don't know. And so I just make sure I listen to those voices every day when I wake. If the voice says, like sometimes you have to learn to listen to the voice when it says, dude, let's just lay around all day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my doer is like, but I'm like, no, I'm like, it's telling you this because probably in your life in a couple days or a couple weeks now, you're not going to be able to rest. And it's going to need you to go for the next 72 hours nonstop. So just listen to the voice. That's so important.
Amazing. What is the importance of people that you respect that will tell you no? Not just there's so many people, especially with art, that will just be like yes. Especially either they don't care enough or they don't have enough. There's a mutual respect. How important is that as an artist?
When they say no, like
in reference to like you have a lot of people that are just yes men. That are like they'll just everything you do, like they don't have any critique, like good critique. Where like you, there has to be someone that is able to be like, no, don't do that. And let you see why that's not the direction, you know, or whatever it is.
Do you know what this is? I'm glad. That's a great question in a sense where now back to like when I make music, I'm making it for us and it's not me, right? Like me message is I have become my biggest like consultant. You know, where I'm like, this doesn't now. I'm so far removed from myself now. And it's like every move I make, whether it be like dealing with people or things that I say, like even I'll be like, why did you do that? Or why did you say that? You know, or now's not the time for that record. It's to a point now, like even when I make music, no one is allowed in the studio. Not my girl, not my friends. Nick is lucky if he's ever even allowed in there because like I actually don't want any of that outside interference. Because the same thing when I opened the studio, dude. Everybody said, Everybody was like, you're out of your fucking mind. And then when we got the sponsorship for the regatta for the shirts, you know, like, or when I went to California to get the deal for the TV, or like when I went to, I would go to New York and just like meet a guy who would eventually have me meet a guy.
Right.
And all that stuff came. I think people are very like, you have to learn. It's like a skill in itself to get away from. It's not about me per se. How do I word this? It's just like you have to listen to that voice again.
Yeah.
And my voice is the biggest voice to either say no or say yes, because too many times I've said yes when people said no, and it worked out. Like I'm talking a ridiculous percentage, like 9 out of 10 times.
Yep.
I said yes, they said no. Everyone said no.
Yep.
And now they look at me and they're like, how can I do that, bro? How can I say yes?
Right.
You know, it's even like my girl's dad now. Like he was all about, he comes from the mill era. He's worked his 30 years, retired.
Yep.
And so he's real like, at the time when I did the studio, it's like, you know, what is that? How you going to make money? How you going to make it? And now he's like, oh, I was telling the girl at the gas station about you. Yeah, I know Mike Hitt. You know, but there was a point where like no one believed in that shit.
Yeah.
You know, even the people I loved, and I'm not even mad at the people that I loved for really not believing in that, because now I have to be, like I said, my biggest consultant. And there's even I had a couple big people where I would take records to or something, and they might be like, and then like it completely deflates you. Right. And then now I'm questioning myself, and now I'm making records where I'm like, is this good? Maybe I need to do this. And I'm like, no. I just need to listen to what's right and what's wrong now.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I'm not afraid to tell myself, no, don't do that. Right. Or you shouldn't have did that. Or you do it better this time around, you know?
Yep.
And I think that's why people come to me at the studio, because that like unbiased review of myself transfers over really well for other people. Yeah. Because they know I'm not just talking. It's because it's my opinion. Right. It's just an opinion based off of like an evaluation of the whole situation, and then I'm like, all right, I would probably do that. Right. And this is why I think you would do that. And like, and even with other people, I've done that enough for them that it turned out right, and they'd be like, you were right, dude. Exactly. And even then I'm like, good, I was right. But it's like, but then I didn't make that judgment until like even like a quick 30 seconds of like all the scenarios in my brain. It's like Doctor Strange in Infinity War. He's like, there's 15,000 possible ways. This is the only way that in the end it's going to work out. You see the movie? Right.
No, I have not yet. I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about then. Yeah, and then like he dies. They all die. You know what I mean? But he's like saying, that's a shame, dude. But yeah, it's the same scenario. Like here's
the thing. The last movie I watched was probably about 7 months ago.
Oh.
And then before that, no, I don't watch. I'm a workaholic. Yeah. I have a 4-year-old. Yeah. When he's around, it's all by him.
Yeah. When you have kids, it's a lot.
Right.
It's a lot different. Kids are really like, that is your thing. Your creative outlet, you know?
Right. And then we just moved up here in December, so much bigger space, and there's a lot more on my shoulders. Yeah. So.
Yeah, good for you.
It's
just don't be afraid to take some time for yourself.
Thank you.
You should.
Thank you.
If even an afternoon, it don't gotta be the whole day. Just be like, hey, whoever, if you watch a kid for a couple hours, I'm gonna go to the movies by myself. You know what I mean? That'll do wonders for you over the next couple weeks, even, dude.
I'll get there. I've been going to the gym in the daytime. I've been going to the gym. So
that's important.
That's been my big like
health, wealth, love, and happiness, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So we're getting there.
Yeah. Good for you.
Thank you. So this, by the way, if you have anything, it could be back and forth. You feel free if you have any questions. I'd be happy to try to divulge with kind of my perspective and anything going on.
So what made you bring me on? Yeah, you knew I did MCM Studios, but what was it like? What was your perspective of me? You know what I mean?
Good question. I knew. So we've been. I met you at the first time I actually met you. Mm-hmm. It was outside at the end of that Creatives Drinks Hilltopolis.
Okay, that was last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that was the first time we met.
That was the first time we actually met, and I'm like, oh, hey, Hit, like, like we
were just chopping it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, but even then, you were talking to someone that you, like, you're like, oh, dude, I've known this guy for 10 years. You're like talking. Yeah. And I'm just like, you ever watch Gary Vee? Gary Vaynerchuk.
Uh-huh.
And like, so something he says a lot is like this is my religion. Like he talks about the way he operates his business as the religion.
Yeah.
And I was able to see you kind of in your element and be like, we have the same. We definitely have the same religion in that respect.
Yeah.
And the way we treat people, the way we go about our business, and the way that we try to work, just when you get down and dirty and do the work. Yeah. Like the work is the part that
half-ass it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the part that's important. And so, that was one thing where it's just like, I need to get this guy on and get the story and give a chance to see a little bit more of what. So with Thoughtful Discussions, the whole point of it is, one, shine a light on entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs in Pittsburgh, see give a scope of what the Pittsburgh scene is like. We've been rated by Forbes magazine as, from what I understand, I may be wrong, as one of the best cities for a startup, not just tech, but business in general. Yeah. And I started up 4 years ago with this business. And
so cost efficient.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's a very easy place to start a business. It's hard a little bit at first for you to break into the community, because the community is so tight knit.
Yes.
If you don't have, so I'm moving here from Southern California 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Luckily I was here for 3 years. That gave me enough of a base.
And when you say community, we mean the entire city of Pittsburgh, because everyone knows somebody.
Absolutely.
Here. It's crazy.
You wouldn't even think. You wouldn't even think the connections that are, like.
You meet someone here and go to Millville or something, and then be like, wait, you know him?
Right. My first experience with it was a Creative Drinks after party, and it was at the Goldmark, and I knew, like let's say that I knew 70% of the people there, and more than half of them were my customers.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, like it was the first time I saw them all together, and they all knew each other, and I'm like, you guys all. like I know all of you individually. Yeah. I didn't know you all knew each other.
Yep.
Like this is crazy.
And none of them told each other about you.
No, they all did. They all did. That's the thing.
Usually you acquire them. Like all my clients, I acquired them all separately, and then you're like, oh, you go there too.
Right. They so I have some amazing customers. We have almost 50 5-star reviews.
Nice.
Not a single 4, 3, 2, or
Good.
1.
Yeah.
All 5 stars.
That's huge.
Freaking ridiculous.
On Google.
On Google and Facebook, between the two. And we try to do a good job with everything we're doing. We mess up stuff sometimes. We make it better.
How many revolving clients you think you have, like, in a year? I'm not even going to say a month. That's stupid. Like, because people have events and times of the year.
I don't know. That's a good question. I think we probably have around 120 customers a month. But the thing about print is that, like, you don't really have that much consistency with, like, day to day.
Yeah.
It's more like I have over 3,000 customers.
Yeah, right.
And
for the year.
Since we started.
Okay, yeah.
And
some might have came once, and that's it.
Correct.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are repeat.
Yeah.
So 3,000 customers, I'm at almost 6,000 invoices. So that on average, everyone's ordering twice.
Yeah.
And I know there's people that order, every couple weeks. So.
What's your smallest job that you've done?
Like, we'll do one copy. We'll do one copy.
One copy.
Yeah,
okay,
we'll do one copy.
Good,
yeah.
Okay. What's the biggest job you've done?
10,000 business cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Shit, you cut them and all that too?
No, I sent that out.
Okay.
Someone else.
You gotta get a cutter, man.
We got one, but
you just say cut.
We offer some of the services we offer. It's like a print broker service.
Okay.
We manage. Like, we're printers, so we know how it works. We have relationships with these other vendors, and then we're able to buy wholesale, and they have this monstrosity of an operation that is, not too far away. It's within a day of shipping, and they're able to do amazing quality for cheaper than it would cost us to even buy the paper.
Yeah, right.
So we're able to turn out stuff that is, fast, really cheap, really good quality, and we don't even have to touch it. We buy it from them wholesale, so we buy it up front, and then and so whether it's, it might be like postcards or
anything, business cards.
Yeah. Everything we do in house, we can also send out for. So there's a capacity to what we want to do on our own machines.
Yeah.
And
what
there's
would you
a point
say
where
that is?
Probably like 500 or 1,000.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a copier, it's like
Not even worth the ink at that point, probably.
Right. The great part about a copier, you're printing with lasers, and you can make one copy, and there's no setup fee. There's no setup cost.
Yeah.
Where when you're printing in the thousands, you have to make plates, and you have to register it. You have to have a press operator, and you have to have this $1 million press. And it's the size of a bus.
Huh.
Like it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
But the way it operates, then so they print on this giant sheet. It's like 3 feet by 5 feet.
Yeah.
So if you want some business cards, you're getting business cards with 45 other people.
Yeah. Wow.
But they're doing that 100 times a day.
Yeah. Right.
So they're printing a ridiculous amount.
That's probably who Vistaprint goes through too, huh?
It's
someone like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And they're able to operate so cheap that it's worth it to give it to print shops like me to be able to keep their costs. You know, like we're adding to the work that they already have. Yeah. And keeping them busy.
Yeah. Okay. So your average customer might be 100 to 500, like the average.
Dollar wise?
No, like
or
amount wise of anything.
Yeah.
Like that seems reasonable.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I imagine like you get 100 posters or 100, or you could fit like I know from the history of it, like if you get flyers, you fit like 8 flyers on a sheet or something like that.
Exactly.
And cut them. Yeah.
So let me ask you real quick, what was your initial question about? I think I lost where you were.
And
going
we don't even smoke. That's what's crazy.
There's just too many ideas in my head. I'm like, okay. So here's the thing. I posted something about this.
Oh, what was your perspective of me? That's what it was.
Okay,
yeah, like how
we got all the way from there.
Yeah, I don't know how we got the printing business card. Hey, you drove, dude. I was just a passenger.
That's fine. Let's get there. So perspective of you was ultimately that we have, we're part of the same breed.
Yeah.
And that I wanted to have you on the show. So with Thoughtful Discussions, it is about entrepreneurship, and hopefully some of the people that are watching are able to glean something from it. But I also want to talk about the reason I named it that is if I could have anything more in my life, it'd be more thoughtful discussions.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So if I can get people to come on and we can have that conversation, sometimes tough conversation, sometimes very interesting conversation where we're able to talk about things that you maybe wouldn't get asked on a regular basis. And so there's some meat with and if entrepreneurs understand this more than I think people that
just got to work.
Right.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with those people. They're
some people were built. That's another thing. Like people were, like I was listening to a podcast, and it was about how, like your purpose in life, right?
Yeah.
And he was talking about how a woman he worked at the office with, and he went on like make millions and do this. And I listened to. You ever hear of an Entrepreneur on Fire podcast? So EO on Fire. Listen to that.
Okay.
He has probably 2,000 entrepreneurs that he's had on there, and from every walk of life. Yep. And he basically, it's the same format, asks him the same question, and this guy's on there talking. And he's like, so really, what is the importance of like, the purpose of your life and, success? And he's like, when I worked in an office building, he said he worked with a lady, and he was like, she was always happy. Like they'd work like, it's like customer service. Yeah. And he's like, she was always so happy and came into work. And one day I asked her, like, Barb, like, why do you like this job so much? And he was like, and she said, ever since I was a little girl, I just aspired to have a job where I could just come in every day and do my job and service people and go home. And she's just a worker, and that was enough for her, and she met her fulfillment that she always wanted to do. Right. And for him, he was like, I want so much more, but it's not that his
Neither
much
were
more
wrong.
was wrong.
Right.
It wasn't wrong at all. It was just sometimes I get pissed because my girl is like that. Like we're polar opposites, right? Yeah. My girl is she does hair, and she is so happy going to work, cutting hair, then going to her friend's house just for a little bit, and then just coming home, hanging out with the dogs, and then just going to sleep, waking up.
That's life.
And I'm like,
she made it though.
She made it. It makes me angry and it makes me mad. It makes me mad at myself and happy at the same time for her, because I'm like,
That's all.
Why can't I be so satisfied?
Right.
You know, it
She's
drives me
content.
crazy, dude. I want to be that satisfied, but it's like today I woke up, I finished writing that song, I had 2 sessions, I come to this podcast, and I'll probably go home and probably like organize my stuff, we'll start working on another song, rather than be like, why don't I just go home and just sit on the porch?
Yeah.
And I
But where do you find the joy?
Well,
you find joy in getting the work done.
I do. The most joy.
Yeah.
The problem, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's like when people said, do you ever work with artists you don't like working with? No, because the joy is like in the problem. Like, and I love finding the solution.
Exactly.
The day I don't like finding the solution anymore will be like, I don't think I'll probably ever have that day because I've been like that since I was young. Like, just back to the DJing thing. Like, it was about me like, okay, I have to DJ next Friday and I need to figure this shit out. Right. And like, whenever there's no problem, I'm just kind of like, this is weird. Yeah. Because even as a youth, like a very young kid, everything was a problem. Like, we didn't have money, we didn't have some place to live, or where are we going to eat, and you got to move here, and we got to do that, and then I'm a teenager and dealing with this, and it's like, in some ways, it's probably like an actual like mental disorder that was probably put on me at a young age of like this constant change. Like every like day for me as a kid from when I was born was like immense change. And so like now when there's no change, I'm like weirded the fuck out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's, I mean, that's something I see in some people. They probably don't deal with it as well as you do. Yeah. You know, personally, I've been in relationships where people grew up in chaos, and then they want to duplicate that chaos. And then I'm not interested in that. Yeah. So then
I don't want the
like,
chaos.
No drama. Yeah. No drama.
I like the order. That's another thing. I'm very order driven. Like, for instance, people will come to the studio and they'll open their laptop and it'll have just icons like this. And I look at that, I'm like, no. Because I have like 7 computers and every computer is perfectly organized. I have a hard drive for everything, my personal photos, my personal documents, business documents, a first, a second drive, a second and third backup. Like, everything is organized. And I'm not like what's the word for that? Like
OCD.
Yeah, I'm not OCD. Like, I don't have to keep moving this cap like this. Right. You know what I mean? It's just like I already know my life's going to be so busy that the things that I can have order with, I want order with, you know?
Well, there's a difference there too, because if you don't, you've spent so much time trying to find files that weren't marked correctly.
Oh my God.
That you know that investment is important.
So important. Years later, you won't realize again how important that is. Yeah.
Right. So so it makes sense to organize that and to invest that time and keep everything.
And I get
nice
joy out of that too.
Yeah.
Like, some people get joy out of just going and getting drunk. You know, and my getting drunk is organizing files on a hard drive. You know what I mean? Like, I get so much joy out of that.
Right. So that's super interesting. That what I'm trying to focus on when I was saying the meat is like what we were just talking about. Is that everyone does things a little bit differently, and everyone is working towards a goal. And what I want to know, not directly, I mean, I do want to know it from you, but I do like who are you? What are you doing? What's next? And then the rest is like, what makes you different? Why are you doing what you're doing? And what struggles have you been through that have made you into what what you want to do now?
Oh, we covered all that, I think. But
I think we've been doing a great job. But I'm just trying to let you know what the format. So to answer the initial question, why did I want you on the show? Is to get that big picture. Because when you have your own bio or whatever, you're not going to give me all of that, all that meat. And so hopefully the people that are watching, they're able to take something that they're listening to and be like, oh, that makes sense. And I don't know, you don't always know what it is. I talk to artists and that's another thing. Like other podcasts I've been on, bar talk, house talk, like
that's another thing. I've come to a point where like I'm just really comfortable talking about anything.
Yeah.
You know, and there's almost nothing that like people don't really know about me.
Yeah.
It's like, because like the more you talk about it, the more you can get it out, the less it becomes like an issue in your life. Like people are always like, I don't want to talk about it. Like whatever it may be, something traumatic in their childhood, but like that's when it's like it has ownership on you. It's kind of like when I say I make the creations, and I'm like, I don't want you to hear it.
Right.
You know, now that it's has some sort of ownership on me.
Right.
And you know, and it's like a burden on my back, as opposed to like I just keep putting it out. And then like, you know, then you find your audience of people who appreciate you, or you keep talking about it, and it's not like, you know, no longer are, you know, ashamed of this or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean?
Right. What advice might you give to someone who's thinking about starting their own business?
Man, is that it's find what you're naturally good at, right? Mm-hmm. And you know this, like gravitate, it doesn't matter what it is. Like don't try to do something like you said your brother, I guess, was like, oh, what's $1 million idea?
Right.
I find that everyone who says what's the $1 million idea, like this many people come up with that $1 million idea while this many people are living out their passion. Right. You know what I mean? And so like you have to figure out whether it's making cupcakes, whether it's like being a bartender or not a bartender, like opening a bar or running a print shop or opening a recording studio. Like you have to make sure that it's something you really love doing, even if you're only going to make, you know, $10,000 a year doing it, or in the beginning, or you're going to make $100,000, you're going to make $250,000. Right. You have to make sure that you want to wake up. It keeps you up at night and it wakes you up early. Yeah. Because that's going to get you through the hardships of business. Right. Because then there's a bunch of stuff we deal with that I'm like, I didn't like everything from numbers and taxes to getting more pens to like garbage removal, like things that you're like, this isn't making music. Right. You know what I mean? Or like meetings with people about how to expand, or like, how am I going to market myself? You know, so it's like, so whenever I get the chance to go in the studio and do what I love, it's like all that was worth it for this couple hours of like, I own this. Yep. Like I own this moment. Like you could just print pictures of sexy ladies for hours if you wanted to, because you've earned the right to do that. Right. You know what I mean? And I could just go on the mic for 2 hours at the studio because I've earned the right to do that. Right. You know, but we're passionate about those things, so that's what allows me to just like to get through the hurdles of running a business. Right. Because it's 90% the business of business and 10% what it actually is you even do. Absolutely. You know, it's like people get to the studio and they're like, how can I want to open a studio or do what you do? And I'm like, dude, by the time we get together, the work is done. Right. This ain't even the work. Yeah. This is like, I was pumped to come to the session. Like, this is the easy stuff, dude. Yeah. Shoot.
That's absolutely true.
Like getting a building and a space, and like, you know, you have maybe a water pipe. Now you got to get that fixed, and I'm like, that doesn't even have anything to do with printing. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. I got to market myself.
Yeah.
There's a whole world, and I love business, printing. I love printing, but I love business more. Yeah. And so I really like my job because I'm able to work with I love
creating more than business. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But I've learned to love, we're both naturally entrepreneurs, right? So like, I just understand the politics of you need to run your business tightly to do what you want. But at the end of the day, dude, if I could bring someone on and they ran the business and I was just creative, I would do that in a heartbeat. Yeah. The issue is finding someone else that you trust as much as you to wake up day and night to be just as passionate about the business as I am about the creative.
That is very rare. Very rare.
And if you do bring them on, they're like, hey, I got some records I want to make, or like, I got some things I want to print. I'm like, no, dude, I brought you on to run the business. You do none of this, you know? It's like him jumping over here like, now I got some questions I want to ask. It's like, no, dude, you said you were going to do the audio and I was going to do the interview, you know?
Yeah.
People don't stay in their position enough.
That's true.
And they don't even stay in their position long enough to like see it to its full opportunity.
Yep.
You know, to its full like bloom. They just want to like hop to the next thing, hop to the next thing, hop to the next thing. It's been a long life, dude.
It is.
That's like I said.
So I'm gonna end with what's next for
next?
you? What do you? Yeah.
I'm going to put out this music, like I said. I'm really focused end of 2018, 2019 and beyond of just releasing my own music. I'm going to continue to I was just talking to someone about this again right before I walked here.
Yeah.
Which he lives there, which I'm like, this is crazy because I've known you so long. I didn't know you lived over here. That's like one of my old friends. And so I see him, we start talking, and I was like, dude, I feel younger now than I did when I was young. And it's all because, like, now I'm in a better position to, like, take care of my body, take care of my mind. I'm always reading. I'm always listening to podcasts. I'm always trying to take care of my friendships and my relationships with people. And I'm just going to, like, from here, it's just going to be, over the next 5 years, is going to be a giant magnification of what this is right now.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe even 5 years from now, dudes, this podcast will have 10 million views because I was on like the Duncan Trussell podcast or some, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
I just want to continue to keep like plugging away, networking with people, following, staying true to my passion, listening to my voice, and if I'm here from 2010, you know what I mean? Like by doing all that, then where am I going to be in 2028 if I keep doing the same things? Because now we're in the compound. I'm in the compound interest area where it's like now I'm not starting from zero.
Right.
So it's like everything I do is like I'm getting 10 times the return.
Yep.
I just need to make sure that I stick with it. Now is not the time to give up.
Absolutely.
Now is the time to go into overdrive with
Double
what
down.
I do. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Love it. Someone asked me, they're like, so what's the goal of the podcast? What are you gonna do with it once you like where's it going? And I'm like, I don't know. I gotta record 100. I gotta record 100 episodes before I figure that out.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
Hell, Sykes did over 100 episodes, and then he was like, I don't think I'm gonna do this anymore. You know what I mean? So it's like you don't even really know. Like,
it works. If it works, it works, and just ride it out. And
at worst, it's bringing Flower City printmakers some more love and little more. And one thing I learned, I did like little compilation CDs for the studio, and like I would release like little songs from other artists who recorded, or I put out a flyer here and there. And it's like it might just be like this cap. You know what I mean? But now, like, something's on that table.
Right.
You know what I mean? You throw 100 caps on that table. It's like, damn, that's a lot of caps. You know what I mean? So it's like you just got to keep plugging stuff out there. And like I said, the compound, that's the greatest friend. Yeah. Now I get it more than ever is the compound interest. And that's why I'm most excited about between now and the next 5 years. Yeah. Because every move I make, it's another thing. I have all this past experience. So at any point, it's not like if I get a big opportunity, I'm basically a giant opportunity away from like popping, because it's not like, I'm like, no, dude, I've done this, and this, and I know I could do that. Right. And then they're like, all right, come on in. You know, whether that's producing for Puff Daddy or being an exec on TV or getting on a big podcast or like whatever the case may be. Right. It's just I have all the tools now.
Keep going full steam
until that opportunity comes, and it's like, this is what all those caps were for. Right. Was for this one moment, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what people lose sight of. They just lose sight of that, like, you know, like I made a song last night. Nobody heard it but me.
Yep.
But I had to do that. That's like I just said, I have to be creative right now. I don't know why. It's just my voice is like, just be creative. Don't play games. Don't hang out. Like, just at every free moment you get, make a beat. If the beat doesn't work for you, put it in a folder for someone else. Make another beat. If it's a song for you, make it a song. And so it's like, for every 2 beats I make, one of them winds up, I'm like, oh, that's a song for me. Right. But the other one is a great beat. I'm just like, I'm going to put it in a folder. Yep. It's just not for me. I know there's a voice and an artist for that. And just building this catalog, and where it's going, I don't know. Just like licensing for TV, dude. I remember when I was on one show, I had one beat on one show.
So tell me how that works, without giving it away, obviously.
Yeah. There's really nothing even to give away. Like that, the guy called me yesterday asking about how to do it. Someone inboxed me about asking how to do it. And it was as simple as like I picked up my phone, I called people, like kept calling. I had relationships with other producers. But it was just a matter of them being in California. You know, they were from all over the country in California.
Yeah.
And they were like, dude, if you're ever in California, you know, come on out. You could see what we do. There was no guarantee of anything. You know what I mean? And they were out there for their licensing. And I was like, I'm coming next April. And, you know, they're like, all right, yeah. I mean, they were cool with me.
Right.
Yeah. But then when I'm like, and like they open the studio door and they're like, Hit? And I'm like, yeah. And then, it turns into I'm sitting in the session for 12 hours. Right. I'm soaking this stuff up. And they're like, all right, we got an opportunity. Send us some beats. And then like one beat turns into I've been on over 50 shows now. Yeah. You know, and it's like, and that compound interest in itself every year, that amount that I make from that like doubles. You know, it's like a little bit more. And now compound interest is so the theme of my life now more than anything.
Diversity. Too.
Yes. Diversification, having a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there, not spreading myself thin, but like everything that
you don't want doing. If an opportunity gets taken away, that can't be 100% of your opportunity.
Yes, right.
You can't let that crush you.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if I had one customer that I did all the work for,
you'd be crushed.
And they decided to walk away one day. You can't have that.
No, you can't.
And I know of businesses that have had, one or two big customers and a couple little ones, and then
and they crumble.
Absolutely.
Well, the studio world's like that. Music's like that too. You know, that's another thing. Like with MCM Studios, I don't have like, and you know what I'm talking about. Like there's like circles of people, and like they all do business with each other.
Right.
And you don't really see my face or name in these circles of people. You're just like, this dude's been in business forever, and he's not in any of these circles that they're all circle jerking each other, because I realize like with almost 8 billion people in the world, if I did that would stifle my business, because then if one person quit fucking with me, now they all quit fucking with me. Right. You know, and I learned that early in business, like that I just need to deal with everyone. People's moms bring their daughters to me who sing, who play guitar and sing. Older people like 70 who write songs come to me. Like people come to me who sing karaoke. They just want to sing their songs and hear what they sound like. Rappers who don't want to be in a clique. They just want to make music. Like I'm like the outsiders of recording music. Like everyone who doesn't want to deal with the politics of shit comes to me. Because they're like, dude, you just want to like get the job done. Right. You know, and there's a lot of people who don't want to deal with like trying to fit in. Right. They just want to come to you, and they just want to feel important. Right. They don't want to have to fight for their importance, you know? Shit.
Where can we find you?
You can find me at Mike Hitt, 2 T's, MIKHITT.net. That's where all my music and all new info about me will come up. And then you could also, which will be changing over to .com soon, because I just got that. And then you can find me on Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat. And if you just type in Mike Hitt with 2 T's, I pop up really easy. You could Google it with MCM Studios or whatever the case may be. I just try to make myself really, 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 really easily found.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on.
Dude. Thank you. Yes, this was awesome. And this was